Hi guys, my name's Stephanie Morrison, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Functional Communication Training, or FCT for short, on the against side. So just to get started, I'm going to give you just a definition and kind of explain what FCT is. So it can be defined as differential training reinforcement procedure in which an individual is taught an alternative response that results in the same class of reinforcement identified as maintaining problem behavior. And the function of the behavior is identified, and a functionally equivalent communicative response is taught as an alternative to the behavior. Also, the challenging behavior may serve one or more functions, such as to escape an undesirable activity, event, or attention on themselves, that is the client, or to be a tangible reinforcement. Also, it could be attention of an adult or peer if they're seeking that attention. And lastly, automatic reinforcement, such as sensory stimulation that the client may be reaching out for. And so basically, just in plain terms, this is taking one action and that is undesired and replacing it with what is desired. And in this case, FCT differs from other function-based procedures in that the alternative response is a recognizable form of communication, such as vocalization or sign language. And also two key aspects: who should implement FCT and where should FCT be implemented. So this can be answered by people where communication occurs in the presence of all relevant caregivers in all relevant settings. So for, say, a child, this would be their teachers, parents, maybe a babysitter, respite caregiver, in any natural setting, so home, school, playground, church, anywhere the child may have a natural setting. But FCT is not limited to children. It can be with adults and even geriatrics. So why I am against FCT. This is more easily implemented when the client is removed or you minimize competing sources. In other words, a controlled setting. And this would be not their natural environment, and which makes it difficult to transfer and generalize to the natural environment. And why it's easier to be done in a controlled setting is you don't have, say, the other children in the classroom or another, like, any outside objects that could be cause for physical safety, because often the behaviors that you're trying to stop are aggression behaviors, such as hitting or moments of freakouts where, like, they might fall on the floor or such items like this. Also, there is risk to the client and other individuals, and personal or public property can be minimized by eliminating other individuals from the training environment using special protective equipment and removing fragile or dangerous items. So physical safety risk, so sometimes depending on the amplification of the behaviors, it's necessary to remove objects such as lamps, TVs, and tables. And in the public, you can't just remove, say you're in Walmart, you can't just remove the entire grocery store, which sounds silly, but I mean, you really can't. So just making this into a generalized setting, it's just not realistic. And also, if you are removing the client from everything, this is isolation, which is not inclusion, which inclusion is something that, as future professionals, we want to move towards as much as possible, because the more you include your client in their natural settings, the better off they typically are going to be. And also, one source gave me that even using padded rooms and tables is sometimes necessary for the safety of the individual as well as the other trainers or the professionals implementing. Also, multiple trainers or training settings are needed, which means many clinicians are needed, and this can be difficult because you need the ability for all to focus on just one client, and this costs time and money of both the clinician as well as the parent and guardian, and sometimes this is also just not realistic, as making even just 2 or 3 professionals with one child, it's gonna not be able to happen on a regular basis. And other strategies needed is something that another source brought up. So thinking about what other strategies that could need to go along with this, what are they? Do they cost money? Are there pros and cons of these other strategies? And do they conflict in ideology with what you're already implementing? So making sure those coexist well without having any conflicts of the type of therapy that you need to implement. And lastly, there is just a lack of research done. Trying to find resources for this was pretty difficult, and the ones I did find, a lot of the resources just overlapped. They quoted the same research that happened, and so yeah, they just need to come up with some more about this. Although it is one of the most popular used, it has definitely some areas that need improvement.